This episode of Speakers of Eidolon is made possible by our generous patrons. Special thanks to our Supreme and Master Speakers, Omeji Cat Comet, Erisu Yamakawa, Circa Barrackhill, Remy Asalia, Arcadia Lunashine, Alex Franco AV, Winebow Brood, Psyche, Asuta Starbreeze, Cletus Oreo, Nina Grimstarter, Nat Clay, Lily Black, Bob Cece, Micta Rabentau, Sapa Chakwatol, Edwin, Umbral Wind, Quick Levin, Pamela Isley, Camille Grino, Elenriel Maximus, Codrith Novelist, Mira Mary, Bay Barbalay, Suno Chicano, Celestao Notrell, Lazy Boy, Abaga Dragonite, Luke Osborne, Pandaloo Storm Arrow, Tex, Yowie Wowie, Kylin, Chibi Duo, AJ Brainswordson, Anathos Moonscar, Arthur Law, and Biridan Derard. Support the show and become a patron today at patreon.com/speakersxiv. Thank you. Good evening, Aorcians. Welcome to Speakers of Eidolon, episode 269. Nice. I'm Lakeel Gravestone, and I'm joined today by Rollo Des, Georgi Wiston, and Mela Vanadar.
Hey.
It is 269. Let's just say that a couple of more times, just so we're absolutely sure everyone understands. This is episode 269, and that's very nice. We have to wait 100 more episodes before we get back here, so enjoy it. We weren't
2 years, that is.
Yeah. We weren't going to talk about recent events, but I literally just checked the subreddit, and apparently the breaking news: the Endwalker trailer has reached 3 million views on YouTube.
Oh, well done.
Nice.
Endwalkies is doing well, fellows.
Yeah. In just 5 months, the Shadowbringers trailer that was released 2 years and 8 months ago is at the moment 4 million views.
Wow.
So
Is that just one of them, or is that a compilation of the views between all of them?
that's the full trailer. The English full trailer.
Remember they
just
released
English.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
The
'cause
English.
Remember they released that for both the US and the UK.
Oh yeah, this is
videos.
this is the North American one. No?
Okay, that's
Wait.
what I was.
How do I know which one's which? Oh, ESRB. Yeah, this
It'll-
is
One of them
the
has
North
the
American.
Union Jack, because that's the proper English one.
He
and
played
then-
God Save the Queen just for a couple of seconds. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's just... What is the... Just out of curiosity, what is the European one at then? Because I think it's because they push the North American one more than the... Yeah. Oh, wow. They really do. So the Japanese one has 1.7 million. The German one has 792k.
Oh,
The
nice.
The French one has 104k. The British one 438k.
I usually do.
But I think
take
that's
that one just.
I think it's because it's both of them are English, and
Yeah.
There's no difference
Yeah.
other than the UK one says Peggy 18 or whatever.
Sounds
it is.
way better.
And-
yeah,
Yeah.
Peggy 16.
You know what's fucked?
What
And
is fucked?
They literally translated this game to French before Spanish.
This is
There's a
true.
reason for that, Rollo. It's
There
because there
is,
Talk
but
about
the
that for a few
Spanish speaking population, such
Isn't
a
all
bigger
in Europe
mix.
though.
It's
not all
not
in Europe.
But you know the reason is because they know that whichever Spanish they pick will make half of the other ones unhappy.
Yeah.
I would take a very bad European Spanish dub over nothing. It's something to laugh at least.
Oh my God.
For Thancred could be like,
Consider-
hey, hold on.
Consider the other people that you know of, that how they would react to this.
Yeah.
We're used to it. We're used to this treatment. Don't worry.
Okay, well, there you go. That's an impromptu recent events. Okay. Today we're going to start reading through interviews. We will not have time, TM, to go through all of it. So today we're going to talk about the video interviews that have been released by creators, 14 creators, and possibly next week we'll start looking more into the written interviews. The reason being the written ones are usually much longer than the video interviews, and there just isn't enough time. So, well, let's begin. We'll start with the interview by Zepla. Mela.
Yeah.
You have been tasked with this.
I guess I have to try and sort of set the standard here, but I'm just going to be as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Mela, put on the bunny ears. All right.
I've got them on right now. There's one question here that I think will be actually really interesting, but I'll just go through them in order. So she started off with asking him about how much he plays 14 personally in his own free time, and if he gets burned out by working on the game and playing it.
Yeah.
To which he let us know that he actually logs in to his private account on company property first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
But he's apparently has never actually checked his /play time and is a little bit scared about it because it's probably quite high. So he says on average about 2 hours a day personally.
I have to say,
for raiding,
it's not as embarrassing for him to do /play time when it's his actual
exactly.
job.
It's his job.
Yes. Yeah.
But he never gets sick of working on 14 or playing it, so that's really nice for him. The only thing he doesn't like about his job is going to company of board director sort of meeting things and all the board of director nonsense they have to do. So that's interesting. She also asked about his son, because he, as we know, is a big Fortnite gamer.
Yeah.
And whether he knows about the Final Fantasy XIV free trial, which includes, available free up to level 60, includes the critically acclaimed first expansion pack, Heavensward, which she included in all of it for the meme. He says that he doesn't know about the free trial. Yoshipi's not told him about it properly. But then he went on this thing about how he's doing something in FPS games that's a bit like 14 in that he has a clan. I didn't really know what he meant, but I guess it's like he's got an FC, but in Fortnite or Call of Duty or whatever.
He's in his Call of Duty lobby talking to his pals.
Did he not go into any detail about what this nondescript FPS game is?
No, it was all just FPS. But that may have been the translator in there as well.
Valorant,
new translator,
probably?
Actually. This didn't have IME. This had some British man.
Oh, right.
I didn't know who.
Most of the ones I saw had IME.
Yeah. So shout out to the British guy as well, because you've done good work too.
Shout out to you.
She then asked, you're probably aware of J. Allen Brack saying you think you want it, but you don't, to WoW players. And whether there are times as a developer where they know players want something, but they know it's not, let's say, good for them, but, possible. And he gave a really good answer here about, it was a weird analogy, but he compared it to a relationship, either a lover or a family member or something. And that the one person in the relationship wants the other person to change, but won't explain to them why. And that just causes frustration and upset. And as a developer, it's good to be transparent with the players about, have the frank discussion of, we know you want butt sliders, but we can't because of this reason. And he's gone on 4-hour tangents about this in the past about why they can't do things. So he practices what he preaches.
Right.
Well, very weird example though, but I didn't quite get it.
Right.
She then asked if, similar to Shadowbringers when they went to Saudi Arabia for Amarang and things like that, whether they managed to go on any business trips this year for Endwalker, for example, to the moon. Yoshipi says he has a lot of connections, but he doesn't have any connections in NASA, so he wasn't quite able to get that sorted, and they just use their imagination, but they think their idea of the moon's good.
Listen, if they're willing to fly fucking Jeff Bezos up there, why are they gonna think of Yoshi P?
Jeff Bezos, it was his own company. Yeah, he self-funded his trip to space, and he didn't go to the moon.
So let's crowdfund Yoshi P's trip to the moon.
Okay.
God.
I'm curious about who these connections are.
He said a lot of connections.
Yakuza connections.
Yeah, it could be.
Oh, he actually
Triad
listed
perhaps
them?
as well. No, he just went a lot.
Oh, okay.
He bigged himself up. She then asked if the moon's hollow, and he started talking about the real moon and how possibly on the dark side of the moon there's a secret alien base.
What?
You know how people say, because the moon always faces us because it's tidally locked. So
Yeah.
it spins at the same speed. So people say, oh, on the dark side of the moon, what's there? We'll never know, even though the Chinese have been there.
Or the Nazis.
And they say there's like a secret alien base there or whatever. And he talked about like urban legends about the moon and hinted that there were going to be some surprises for us in Endwalker.
Okay.
Have you not heard that? Have you not heard that myth, Lakil? That
I
there's,
know.
like, a secret...
It's literally the plot of Iron Sky.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was bringing it up.
She asked if Endwalker will continue to challenge that good versus evil narrative that Shadowbringers brought up, where it's not so just black and white. And he said that the story will have a lot of intricacies. It will be very emotional, especially for people who have been around for a long time. He said conservatively it'll be 1.3 times the length of Shadowbringers. And early on you'll be thinking, what's happening here? This is a bit odd. But then later on you'll be like, oh, that's completely changed my conceptions of what was happening previously. Now this is happening. So that's interesting as well. She asked about the two new jobs, so Sage and Reaper, and the skill cap on them and how beginner friendly they are. Firstly, he talked about Sage and said that apparently healers, especially raiders, want more opportunities to do DPS, which is contrary to most of the healers I know and have been in parties with, but fair enough. So Sage was obviously
not talking about us.
No. So Sage was designed to attack and also do their heals and shields and stuff. And he said that even people who main healers, for them, Sage will feel like a fresh experience and very new and exciting. So that's going to be fun for you guys.
Yeah.
It's quite complicated and technical.
Say hello to our new Sage mains here.
Yeah.
We'll have 2 Sages in every party.
I hope in terms of being complicated and technical, they mean it's still fluid and not clunky like what I'm used to.
I don't think it'll be clunky. I think it'll flow well. But...
Gergi, anything would feel fluid to you after playing Scholar.
God.
And then Reaper is also going to be quite interesting. Apparently lots of people wanted a scythe as a weapon. And it seems to sort of have a switch. So you know how yesterday we were talking about the attacking phase where you build up the red meter and then you get possessed and have the blue meter.
Yeah.
Apparently when you switch into blue, it builds up the tempo of the job in terms of attack speed and stuff.
Oh.
So you'll be playing kind of 2 tempos is what he suggests there. So it'll be a bit slow building up and then boom, boom, boom. And that'll be really cool.
Okay.
And then here, this is the question that I think is really interesting. So she asked if Reaper's an evil job. And he says, yeah, the design's a bit dark, but when you play the job quest, it'll give you more background on where it came from. However, obviously it's not just the Warrior of Light being a Reaper, but the main Reaper in this expansion is Xenos. So that must mean Xenos also has an avatar, like we do. So what does that mean? And who is his avatar? And what implications does this have? So he wants you to think about that. So he dropped that as a bit of a hint. And said that he might finally have a second friend.
I feel so cheated on.
That's big, right, though? That's interesting.
Yeah, that is big.
I
Yeah.
believe one of the text interviews that we'll talk about next week probably also mentions something like that.
Doesn't it also imply something, actually, in one of them? Who that can be? Or have I dreamt that? Maybe I've dreamt it.
I mean, it might have been an interview that you read.
I'm a dreamer.
But
I don't
that's
know.
very fascinating.
Yeah.
To
Like,
bring
does
the
this-
law into it, like the job law or the job skill into his character. I don't know who.
Very hard to say Reaper doesn't just look straight up evil though. Like with Dark Knight, you can be like, darkness. It's not evil. It's just emotions. You have an evil scythe with an evil demon standing right behind you. I don't know about this one. This is hard to make seem shades of grey instead of evil.
Both of them are a bit like Dark Knight is like the antithesis of Paladin.
But you have a friend.
Reaper is just straight up, evil. They are evil, but yeah, I don't know what that means, but I'm very intrigued into if that has any significance in the story.
It has a similar aesthetic to Bayonetta, Rollo, and she's a good person.
She has nice glasses, Rollo. Think about
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
She does. I like her beehive hair the most, by the way. She should have kept that.
That's bad taste.
Wow, all right.
All right.
The beehive was the worst Bayonetta.
Calm down.
outfit.
All right.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
All right, boys.
All
Claws away. She asked if there are any jobs that need significant change, and he thinks that generally it's in a good place, especially after the Summoner rehaul. So sorry, scholars.
This is. They will continuously say, "Yeah, Scholar's in a good place right now."
They do. They say, Stormblood was like, "Yeah, we've really got all the jobs really good there." And then, we've changed quite a lot now, and yeah.
There's no war in Bossing Say. It's all good, guys.
The biggest question they went through in the interview was why he's picked platinum as the theme color for this expansion. So he went through how in Shadowbringers the sort of purple black was very obvious in that we were bringing back the night to Northrend, whereas this one platinum, it's hard for him to explain without going into spoilers. He said the marketing and PR team were confused about it as to why he'd picked that, and he said it's not something you'll see and be like visually you'll not think, oh yeah, that's the platinum Yoshi P was talking about there. I see that. He also went on how in real life people will see the moon and think it's yellow, and that's fair. But he sometimes thinks that's platinum. That's what he was like, and that inspired him. And he had these secret keywords that he wouldn't reveal. Like, I've got a keyword for this expansion that I'm trying to convey. And then he said, there are going to be some people who, even when we get to the end credits, will not have a clue what he was trying to convey, and some people will be like, oh, that's what he meant with picking this theme color.
You should be pointing out that there are some thick people out there.
Yeah, pretty much. The media tour that they, for all the zones and stuff they set up, hid anything with any references to what this would be, any areas, any zones, colors, whatever. And he doesn't even let the development team in on his idea. He hopes people will understand it, but if they don't, they're free to ask him once the game's out. If he didn't get
at
it.
least, like, I don't know, Ishikawa knows?
Even she doesn't. They're just writing stuff.
They were even talking about Foxconn, and like, he doesn't even know.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty crazy. In fact, a second translator had to jump in and be like, no, Foxconn doesn't know. Not even Foxconn. So it's very, very weird, very hush-hush. Then it all devolved, and Zepla asked what he thinks about Final Fantasy XIV waifu body pillows.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is, Huvak, is that as long as no one sells them, it's fine. So you can print them and paint it onto your body pillow case, but just you don't sell them on anything. He's fine that people love the characters, they feel close to them, and that's where we just stopped on that one.
Okay.
And then she asked him to do a funny face for her Discord server as a new emote, and he did one where he puffed out his cheeks while thinking. And he says you're free to make emotes of his face.
Thank
but
you.
just be kind to him. We've got a couple Yoshi P emotes.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we have permission, I'm going to make so many.
Absolutely. We
But
can't
be
use them
nice.
for Twitch, though. We can use
No.
them for Discord.
That's true.
For Discord.
That's true.
So that was Zepla's. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
She asked some interesting questions.
I like Zepla.
So yeah. I like that.
He managed to get through a lot of questions. I talked about this with you guys beforehand, but like most of the interviewers that I saw only got through a small number.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She got 12 questions overall. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's Zepla's interview. We'll move on then to Larry's. That's you, Georgi.
Mm-hmm. So Larry's first question was about Summoner, as you would expect. He asked sort of how they came to develop Summoner for Endwalker, and so Yoshi P's explanation was that like Summoner in A Realm Reborn was more hastily put together than they would have admitted back then because of the time crunch and also like just having to build upon the 1.0 as much as possible. Through Shadowbringers, the development team was really starting to feel the strain on the GCD of everything that they had crammed into Summoner up until this point, between like Dreadworm stance, this Bahamut and Phoenix, the dots. So the design team really decided like this is the point where they have to completely renew Summoner at this point. They can't keep adding more and more to their 3-minute rotation, essentially. So that's when they had the idea of transforming Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan from being Aegis or being pets like they have been up to this point, and more so into traditional Final Fantasy summons. But they didn't want summons to be known as the dot caster anymore.
Right.
Because that's
dots are dead.
What...
Yeah.
They are. That's
dots
not
are dead.
traditionally
Straight lines are in.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But also, rather than going for, like, in a traditional Final Fantasy game, like, up through 9, summons, when you summon them, would just use one singular attack and then they'd go away. So they wanted to more so go for a sense of the summon appearing and then infusing their attacks alongside the summoner. A bit closer to, like, 10, where you control the summons, but, like, you're channeling their skills through the summoner, since pets are awkward to use in this game.
Yeah.
They sure are.
Summoner went through about 5 or 6 prototypes before they ended up with the version that they have finally implemented in Endwalker. They like how the development team has said that they like how you have to figure out the fight so you know which of Ifrit, Garuda, or Titan to use at certain points throughout the fight.
That's good. Kind of like Black Mage positioning, but this is fight knowledge.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't use them in a certain... Once you use them, you're locked out from using them until you use the other 2, I believe, is how it works.
Yeah.
So, like, you need to know, okay, so this is the point where I don't have to move, so maybe I should use Ifrit now, because Ifrit comes with cast bars, whereas Garuda and Titan instant casts.
I like that.
Yeah.
Larry's next question was about, like, technical debt.
Oh, God.
How much is actually left over from 1.0? Yoshi P says there actually is not that much.
Well, obviously.
Mechanically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's all in the back end, right? Well, whatever is left.
Yeah. Like, mechanically, they have been able to work through most of the things that, like, were poorly programmed. It's mostly, like, the foundations that they can't touch at the moment.
Yeah.
Not that as he goes on to say, not that there weren't some flaws from 1.0. Like, in particular, the example he brings up is the Chocobo system, the Chocobo Buddy system. But since then, even though it looks the same, as pretty similar to what it looked like in 2.0, like, the coding behind it is essentially completely redone, such that it works much more nicely than it did back in A Realm Reborn, when you couldn't even use a mount when your Chocobo was out.
Oh, those
that's
days.
true. Yeah, God.
You couldn't, like, enter an instance. You couldn't.
Wait.
No, you couldn't. I forgot about that. You couldn't queue up.
No.
You couldn't teleport even on your mount?
No.
Oh, God.
No.
Those were the days.
And
Bring that back.
And that is an actual leftover from 1.0, because that was a core feature of the teleport system. However, I do believe, did that happen? Okay, maybe you remember. At least in 1.0, if you were mounted and you chose teleport, it would warn you that if you teleport, you will dismount. Did it do that in A Realm Reborn? Is that feels like a typical 1.0 solution? It's like, oh shit, you can't teleport, but we'll dismount
if you. Tried to teleport, at least in A Realm Reborn, if you tried to teleport when you're mounted, it just wouldn't let you.
Oh, okay, yeah. It would just say, you can't do that when mounted. You get that horrible sound. That's not what it sounds like. Shush. Shush. You know the sound. Yeah. Okay.
They also said that Summoner was another example of that, which they finally untangled with Endwalker. Another thing that they've been working about, collision detection, is something they've been continuously working with since A Realm Reborn. They've always had to work with the playing around with the physics system that still existed to a certain extent from 1.0, because that is one of the fundamental things from the game that they couldn't necessarily change easily. I think another interview talks about this. One thing that I think is going to be we're going to see a change in 6.0 specifically is the achievement list. They also want to work on the friend list and the glamour system, which I'm sure everyone is excited about.
All three need changes.
Yeah,
I would agree.
They are the systems that feel the most outdated at this point. Yeah, so
especially friends list, where it has to load through everyone and then reorders it once it's loaded everyone to who's online and who's offline. Rubbish system.
Sadly, glamour will not be touched until at least 6.1. And also, he also briefly touches on how the graphics system is definitely something that will be changed at see an evolution at some point, but that is for much later than the launch of Endwalker, so he doesn't want to talk about it now.
That's the next producer's problem.
I mean, keeps talking about 10 more years. Be funny if he says that and he hands it off immediately.
I mean, hey, they didn't say anything about him being there for those 10 years.
No. 10 years for the game, not him.
And then Larry's last question for Yoshi P was, if you were to go for a lunch with any Final Fantasy XIV character, who would it be? And then he eventually changes the question to, who would you go for a fancy dinner with? Which Yoshi P responds by saying, that's an even harder question. So,
God,
his choice was Y'shtola because he says he would like to go to a dinner with Y'shtola, but he thinks that she would decline him.
That's funny.
But if he was able to go to dinner with Y'shtola, he thinks they would be able to have some nice conversations about the truth of the universe, how ether works. He thinks that would be interesting dinner conversation.
Yeah.
He also says Urianger could also be interesting, but he worries that Urianger would take too long to get to his.
Oh God.
Oh God. Yeah, the soup would be cold.
Yeah. Okay, well that was Larry's interview. I believe the next one is.
And he ends his interview by saying he can come anytime.
He did say that.
He did. He just says it. I gotta give it to you, Larry. You have balls for saying that to Yoshi P.
That was funny.
Yes.
I know Aimee laughed. I don't know if Yoshi P necessarily got the joke.
No.
Well, probably not.
No. I hope.
It'd be funny if she started translating.
Yeah.
he could ejaculate any time.
Oh. Ugh, okay. Right.
There are euphemisms in Japanese that she could have used to explain that.
That's true.
Okay, Rollo, you're on the Meoni Shenpai interview.
Yeah, they had a combined interview. So a lot of people did combined interviews, but a lot of them just posted them separately to their own channel. But they just put it together. I only picked a couple questions from here because lots of overlap or things we just don't want to talk about. So the first one is for Meoni's, and he basically just asked, why would you pick Scholar over Sage at this point? Because Sage is very flashy and got cool stuff, and it's a new hot shit. And then Scholar is, that.
Clunky.
Yeah,
No
yeah, there
problem.
you go.
Yeah.
So
Non-synergistic.
he wanted to apologize for how the jobs were covered and compared, especially to the new ones. They only wanted to kind of cover the core concepts of job changes, if there were any changes, and then go a bit more in depth for the new jobs like Sage and Reaper. Mostly because he felt like the new jobs or the coverage of like specific job changes, like the minutia and all that stuff, is more so something that the media tour people would want to do, he thinks. So he didn't kind of want to like, I guess, step on their toes.
Yeah.
Like that's
Mizzteq
more
asks-
the thing.
Mizzteq gets a very similar response to one of her questions, that like they don't want to talk about things specifically like potencies and stuff, because obviously those are the things that most obviously change. So if those were to go down, people are more likely to complain and say, "Why are you making me weaker?"
Yeah.
Number
Also-
go down.
Yes, number go
Don't
down.
like.
And also he said similar things about how he wanted to leave that to the influencers and the interviewers to like discover for themselves.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I don't want to watch a live letter where they just cover every single tiny thing. They can put in patch notes, or we can do the media tour stuff.
Yeah.
Totally fine with me. Understandable. Though the other part of the answer is Scholar is seen more as the basic barrier healer that not basic as in like it's a basic bitch. More that it has all the tools it needs that you would expect a barrier healer to have. And since Scholar is more just being built off of Shadowbringers, because they feel like there haven't been too many requests for big changes for Scholars.
I mean, what changes have people suggested, if there was any? Like, what did you want?
Make it less clunky.
No,
Make
no,
it so
Georgie.
that our capstone skills aren't exclusive to one another.
No. It's a natural progression of Shadowbringers, and the majority of Scholar players are satisfied with how it's turned out.
Where are these satisfied Scholar players?
Georgie, shut
Show
up. You
them
are
to
very
me.
satisfied. You are very satisfied.
You're the most satisfied I've seen.
Yeah, I've heard you off stream. You always go on and on about how great Scholar is. Won't stop. Won't shut up about it.
But he wants you to be rest assured that there will be new fun skills for Scholar.
I've seen them.
They're very fun, Georgie. Shut
Yeah,
up.
they are.
Sprint.
Yeah.
And he wants people like Meoni to assure people that there's nothing to worry about.
Thank you,
So,
Meoni.
not going to comment on how true or untrue this might be, but yeah. So
he sidesteps this question in every single interview.
Classic
There
Yoshi
are so many
P.
interviews. There are so many interviews that ask this. Essentially, this question is like, "Where are the Scholar changes?" or "Why would I play Scholar over Sage?" And he never addresses the question. Or he says, "If you want to attack more, maybe just try Sage."
Well, what I'm, you know how they always introduce. What he doesn't want to say is that Sage is going to get nerfed at the end of Endwalker, like they always do, and they're going to dismantle it. And then in 7.0, you'll be level. It'll be just as boring. It'll be just as boring.
I mean, that's very likely. I guess one of the things I'd say would be, can I have as many DPS skills as Sage? That'd be nice.
no, Art of War 2, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Or
All right, and then Shenpai asks, there's more questions here, like I said, I skipped some of them.
Yeah.
Lots of paraphrasing here. But she asked about the destruction of Garlemald and the kind of melancholic feeling it has, but they're more so interested in like the design choices behind Garlemald. And then Yoshipi just answers that they've been there since 1.0. They've been the main antagonist or the side antagonist for a long time. You only mostly see like soldiers, generals, and commanders though. not too much normal citizens or anything like that.
No.
So he said it's really easy to think of Garleans as just any other monster, basically, because they always have masks too, pretty much. But they wanted to kind of change that feeling with Endwalker. They wanted to kind of portray the day-to-day life of normal citizens. I think we saw it in the last stream where they had like a little slide, like with a park.
Yeah.
It's so like people lived here and they lived normal lives that might have not been too different from ours or other parts of Eorzea even.
Right.
So he kind of wanted to portray that kind of like the thing they did with Mizzteq, where for a long time you knew Ascians as Ascians, but you got to know Mizzteq as an ancient and kind of come to appreciate,
sort of humanizing them a bit.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we get a chance to feel a little sorry for ourselves in that it's kind of our fault they are this way because we pushed them out of Eorzea because they were filthy non-magics.
That is true.
And they had to settle themselves in Ilsabard. So, they're doing their best.
And I would say until this happened, they lived way more comfortably than we did.
Yeah, that was a nice subway.
Yeah.
That was a real metro.
They had public transport. So, I don't know. It's pretty good.
Eorzea doesn't even have a bus stop.
No.
They have chocobo
quarters.
Yeah. Who wants to ride around on a chicken when you've got a bus?
Run around on a giant chicken.
So one of the text interviews we'll talk about next week goes into more detail about this.
Yes.
I will say I have been thinking about how Garlemald has cars.
Yes.
Do you think it makes more sense for how Sid was able to easily reverse engineer the regalia now?
Now it does. Yes.
That's why they put the cars in there. It seems like the car is lore accurate now.
Well, I will
along with the motorcycle.
Yeah. So now, if we had known this about Garlemald before that quest, I would never have I wouldn't even batted an eye at that. That would have made sense because they have cars in Garlemald. So
it's only a matter of time before we get the Garlean PD car.
Whoop whoop! Where's the police car? I want the police car.
No comment.
Yeah, we'll make the police force one of the first things we reestablish in Garlemald.
What do you mean, Nikhil?
That'll be the next tribe.
The next 8-man mat's going to be a train.
That would have been Mela. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Take that over the Lunar Whale.
I'd be like,
I would too, actually.
Imagine that turning just on a dime. Just a giant ass train.
It would have to be like Doom Train or something where it magically creates tracks before it as it moves.
Yeah,
that would be so cool.
And then as you go up, it'll make tracks in the air. Oh, there's no way the spaghetti engine would be able to.
That sounds very difficult to make.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So then Shenpai asked the burning question we all have, is if there's any new info on Island Sanctuary, because they've been very quiet about that.
Yeah.
And he actually talked about it a lot more than you would think. So they didn't expect the reaction, first of all, for Island Sanctuary at all. It took them by surprise.
I don't understand how that took, like, considering the ginormous success of Animal Crossing, which, considering how little we know, this is what they've done. They have trapped themselves. Because they're like, oh, Island Sanctuary, it's vaguely, and then they explain like, oh, you have farm, you have animals, maybe it's a little bit of, management. And now in everyone's minds everyone goes, Animal Crossing. And then there's no more news. So Animal Crossing becomes that's what it is in everyone's mind at this point. It's been how long since they revealed this? Like more than half a year.
It was like the mini fan fest thing they did in March or February.
Yeah. So 6-ish months plus. They dug this hole, so expectations are high.
He knows we have high expectations.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to disappoint.
He doesn't want to Lord of Dominion us.
No, you better not do that again.
He doesn't want to disappoint, so he's cancelling it.
Yeah, we've decided to cancel Island Sanctuary.
He doesn't want to give us little tidbits of info, and then not explain what the concept is or have anything to show with it, because that can create some even higher expectations and just disappoint people. So he's trying to avoid that. Totally understandable. So he's gonna wait till they have a lot more like live gameplay or screenshots to kind of get into a bit more.
Yeah.
But he says here, big disclaimer: do not expect this to be the same level as Animal Crossing.
That would be crazy.
I don't.
No one. I'm sure no one expected that.
Animal Crossing,
to be a bit like a Garrison thing where we can upgrade it, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing is a game that has had many iterations and years of development, is what he says. So they're not that kind of team. This is their first shot at that. Yeah, but he has some general info, and so yeah, they're planning to release it sometime during 6.x. It's going to get regular updates, which is cool. I thought it was going to be one and done, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's going to be getting more. But the basics of it is you get an island. Literally get an island. It's a blank canvas. They kind of want to make it a relaxing sanctuary place. It's where you go to relax. It'll kind of be in the style of getting to choose what kind of buildings you can place, what kind of materials you can get and gather, along with some like light animal husbandry kind of stuff, raising animals.
I'd love to. That sounds lovely.
But it's supposed to be free of pressure and competing. You don't have to worry about your weekly tombstone cap here. None of that will be involved.
Island rankings.
Seasonal rankings. 3 chances.
Daily fates on my island.
Hey, Mela, what level is your farm? What level is your farm?
I bet you're not even doing watermelons at this level, are you?
Mela, you're slacking. You're slacking.
Your island.
No. No, none of that.
I hope it's as stressful as it is as Animal Crossing is for Rollo.
No,
Mela, you have to hurry harvest your cabbages. They're dying in 5 minutes.
God, I hope it's
the stock market.
Yeah, the stock market. Mela, it's cheap. You can sell.
It's gonna be none of that. Don't expect any of that, please.
Okay.
And I don't want any of that either. But you can invite your friends over. Just to look around your place. You can visit your friends' islands, even. He didn't say anything about the cooperation part of that. I'm sure that's not even fleshed out at this point, so.
Yeah.
He wanted to compare it to, like, gardening, housing, and furniture, like decorating, that we have now. We want you to think of Island Sanctuary as a tier above that. That's a bit more in depth and broad.
This isn't helping this is not Animal Crossing argument.
We already have quite a good housing system.
So we're getting a better system than we currently have for housing.
Well, I think in terms of gardening.
Oh, gardening. Sorry. Okay.
He said specifically, like he mentioned housing.
Oh, well.
Like furnishing, placing furniture.
He mentioned housing, decorating, and gardening. He wants you to think about Island Sanctuary. A tier above that. This is a.
I'll wait to see it. I can't.
Is there a way of adding instanced housing?
That's what I think.
Probably.
That's what I think. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, though. To be fair, we've talked about it for so long, and lore-wise, they now have a way of doing it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. In just a chain of islands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many islands.
That'll be fun though. Come visit my island while I have multiple Y'shtolas running through the field.
Oh. What a dream.
That's
You'll finally be able to garden if you don't have a house.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all he could share today.
Let's just say he never said instance housing, chat.
No, we're already running away.
It's starting to sound very similar to that.
I tried my best to not even paraphrase a lot of the stuff he said here. These are mostly quotes because I didn't want people to get the wrong expectations. This is what he said.
I mean, yeah, he's probably very consciously not saying instant housing or trying to compare it to that because they don't want the possibility of it being disappointing if that's kind of what they're internally deciding they want it to be.
So don't think of it more than farm, relaxing, chill farm.
Yeah.
No more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be able to place more than 20, 30, or 40 outdoor furnishings.
Ooh.
Or even better, you can't, but it's a whole island.
I mean, that would make sense though if you could do that, because there are no other players. There's nothing else for it to like load in.
Imagine
so.
people could be so creative.
It'd be nice to have more storage for outdoor items, to be honest, considering the storage is only as large as the amount of items you're allowed in your yard.
Why is that, by the way? That's very strange.
Yeah.
Why not have like a flat cap on like inside and outside? Weird. Like they have the same one. I don't understand that. It's weird.
Spaghetti.
Yes.
Spaghetti spaghetti.
Was that it, Rollo?
That was it. He's like, that's all I can share today.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's...
please look forward to it.
Yes.
There's one more question from this interview.
What?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that's all you could share. For
oh, sorry. There is one more. Okay, so that's what
there's one more question. That was all you could say about Iron
yeah.
Sectionary.
Okay. Are you going to move on, Rollo? Didn't you say that there was another question?
Yes, there was. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my connection there.
Oh, you dropped out.
Really funny.
That looks so weird when that happens, because it just looks like you're zoning out. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, there's one more. Meoni asked about trust expansions or any changes come to them, and he asked about maybe possibly doing like an alliance raid with trust, possibly including. I mean, there are lots of characters that could potentially be in your trust, I guess, and there are lots of squadron members.
Yeah.
It's not far-fetched,
as long as
I guess.
Cecily doesn't join.
Why do you hate Cecily?
She's rubbish as a healer.
Okay.
Poor Cecily.
So he said an alliance raid with trust would be a lot of NPCs, and that would be very, very difficult. Don't expect that. That's probably not going to happen.
Right.
That isn't to say they haven't been working hard on expanding the trust and making changes to it. Because in the past, for Shadowbringers, the main issue kind of holding them back was that it was very difficult to develop any content with trust, because I guess the tool set was pretty complicated. So only kind of veteran members could really work on any trust-related stuff. But they've done a good job this expansion of, he said, what was it? Smoothening out, streamlining the process or development tools for it, so a lot more members of the team can work on it. There is a particular scene he doesn't want to spoil that involves a big expansion of the trust, so please look forward to that. Ooh, whatever that could possibly mean. But there is stuff going on with trust, fellas. Don't you worry.
Interesting.
Hoping that we get Kryl, considering that was teased at the start of the Tower of Zot.
True.
Kryl doesn't even get to be on the cover of the main poster for Endwalker.
Oh, that's true. That's sad.
Poor girl.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
There's more. Go look at their interview though if you want to see the rest.
But
I just paraphrase a lot.
Links to all of this will be in the description. That's that. All right. Next. Oh, that's me. EC allies. It's not a lot there, but it's one question in the EC allies interview that's been brought up that I still find to be quite funny, and that is they were asking if there's any possibility of a 2.0 server essentially, but and that Yoshi P these are the same people that did the Nightmare interview when he asked about 1.0 servers, and then he's like, well, I'm sorry about that question, but how about a 2.0 server? And he's like, that's just another nightmare, because...
Do they not like the game now?
Well, it's like the WoW Classic. It's like everyone always wants to go back to but they're wrong. In their heads, they're wrong, because what you really want is the feeling, but you can never get that. I'm sorry.
Are you trying to say you don't know what they want
back?
Yeah, I was going to say that, Rollo.
What?
It's like that other interview, that people don't know what they want.
Yeah,
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah,
if he's transparent about it, that's fine.
It's not the same as WoW, I'm sorry to say.
Well, what he essentially said was 2.0 was unfinished Like, it was an unfinished game. It was a game knocked together in 2 years. He specifically brought up, like, an example of what would happen if they introduced, like, a 2.0 server was, like, there was, like, no party finder at launch. Or raid finder. You literally had to go to Wineport and shout for a party, right? So in this world where we have a 2.0 server, it was very likely that the forums were going to be flooded with, please add a party finder. And at that point, what are we doing here? Are we just going to patch the game again and add all the features so we're back to like Shadowbringers / Endwalker again? So it's weird, and he said it is not likely to happen, but he did say maybe you can ask again in 10 years.
That's more fair in 10 years.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't want to play 2.0 in 10 years, though. I'd want to play it even less.
You know what? I would be like, oh, I guess I want to check it out. I'll be there for like 10 minutes and be like, oh, God, this was dreadful. Log out, never touch it again.
I'd launch it to see the UI again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Remember the 2 rows of the orange?
Yeah. And the different quest symbols and stuff. I'd like to look at that again, but I wouldn't play it.
Only reason why I would ever want any of these like classic versions of 14 to happen is purely like educational, just to see it would be interesting to see mini caster bard and machinist again.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want it.
That's 3.0.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you know what I mean. It's like that's another one. But I don't want to play like that again. I just want to see how like bad it was.
Yeah.
That's something similar to what I want, where like MMOs in particular compared to other video games, and like video games in general, are very difficult to archive and like display like as museum piece.
Yeah.
MMOs, as a result of one, constantly evolving such that you don't have any one form of it at any one previous form of it at any time, and also the fact that when they go offline, you can't play them anymore.
Right.
MMOs are very bad for being archived in like a museum type format.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. Yeah. It is sad you will never see Caster Bard ever again.
Right.
In any that's it. Like that form of play is gone forever.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a good form of play, but like
No, but there are things that would be worth doing, like, you know, you mentioned Bard, let's say Machinist doing the 27 combo Machinist opener just, you know, for fun. Or doing Old Fisher or something.
Yeah.
Like classic Fisher.
You remember those old Machinist turrets? There was the AoE version and there was a single target one.
Bishop and the other one, Sentry.
Yeah.
Like I think it's better what we have now, but it is neat to see how it was. I don't want to play that old version extensively or anything.
Yeah, that's sort of the problem, because an MMO is like a living game. That's the whole point of it. So if you lock a game into just one build, like 2.0, like that's what it is, eventually you'll hit the end of the game and you'll be like, all right, game's over, I guess.
What do you want, like Heaven's Word 2?
Yeah, are we
just
gonna keep patching it? Are we just gonna be like 6 versions behind the main game now? Are we running 2 MMOs? Which is literally the same MMO, but delayed?
Yeah. As someone who has never played WoW extensively, or RuneScape, what is the appeal of WoW Classic or RuneScape Classic to those players that want them?
RuneScape, I understand. RuneScape makes sense.
Because RuneScape is very different.
Well, WoW kind of makes sense too, because it's like, you can get like a level every 2 seconds in WoW if you're early on. But they had like in the original vanilla, you'd have like week-long battlegrounds. And like, you know...
I have a job!
Yeah, I know. But in the old days, when they were kids, they were like, this is great.
Yeah, but again...
They don't understand that they've grown up.
Yeah.
But it's just to play how it was and get that feeling back.
They want to be
kids
again playing when but that's not happening.
Aren't we already up to like Burning Crusade Classic? Like
but here's the thing, Georgie, they're also now implementing refresh classic servers where it's now starting all over again.
Yeah, so you'll just endlessly replay the same MMO.
Expensive.
Because some people didn't get to experience the initial rush of classic, so now those people get to be, world first. I know.
See,
I would play Wrath of the Lich King again.
I kind of like this in a sense of, I like this as my MMO museum type idea. I don't know
this. I know this will never happen, but I wish there was a way to like, if for the preservation, the museum part, to be like at the launcher, just select a version, and then that's just an offline running locally on your computer, so you can just walk around and play it single player.
I agree.
Never gonna happen.
That'd take a lot of space on your computer.
That's true, but maybe it doesn't when you select it, it downloads it. The game doesn't like have
every
them all
every time.
No. When you select the version, that's like, okay, we'll download that, and then when you unselect it, it'll just
pick between them.
Yeah, you can pick between them.
I think when the game closes, they should give you a snapshot server of every version to play around with. Or do what Dragon Quest seems to be doing with Dragon Quest Online or offline. I don't know how that works exactly, but a way of playing the game now offline.
Yeah,
because like there are MMOs that I would love to play again that I can't.
14 can be with the exception of maybe the raids. Well, definitely with the exception of the raids, you can play 14 solo if they just implemented trusts for all the dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
You can convert 14 to a single player game very easily.
Yeah.
So maybe I feel like at least compared to like games like 11 and I mean I guess 1.0, you cannot convert those to single player games that easily because they were never built with that in mind. Like
I thought the trusts in 11 allowed you to play it single player at this point.
Yeah, but I'm talking that's true. You can just carry over the trust system to the classic if you're doing classic 11, I guess.
Let's do that. Let's do it. Release 11 as a single player game, and I'll eventually get through the story. I'm not subbing to it.
No.
Why is this up so expensive?
$13 plus $1 per character. Enjoy that.
My free trial was about a 4-hour stream.
Yeah.
So I already feel upset about that.
Remember the dingbats.
Yeah.
That was my first time.
Was also Mela's first time.
It was both of our first time, because that's literally the first 5 hours of 11 is killing dingbats for 8 hours.
So Mela got to experience that twice, which was fun.
God, thanks, Yogi.
It was much longer when I did it.
Yeah, you had
why couldn't you kill the dingbats?
That's the problem with 11. It's like so much RNG involved, and the RNG was not with you that day.
He really wasn't.
No.
No. And when we got like other players who had joined in and like,
because they felt bad for us.
The
yeah.
This is depressing.
It was bad.
Yes. So there you go. Ask again in 10 years. I do wonder if like there is actual. Oh, there must be, since they asked. Like people like unironically want a 2.0 server.
Absolutely. Someone's like, you know what? I want all those role action backs. I want all the alt job requirements to get classes to get my jobs. I want my blood for blood windows.
They weren't they weren't even called role actions. They were called cross class actions.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, and you could only pick 5 or something.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, yeah,
that too.
And you could only pick them from certain classes.
Yeah, and you had to have those classes leveled to acquire them as well.
In theory, it was a good system for encouraging you to play other things, but in practice, it forced you to play things you probably didn't want to play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It took forever to level stuff up too.
Yeah,
it wasn't quick.
Remember, you had to have the secondary class to 15 to get your job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Archer.
If you're a healer, you were required to get Black Mage up to like level 34, so you could add Swift class.
Oh,
yeah,
true.
Swift class was just
I hated that.
So funny.
Oh.
And it was required.
Yeah.
There was no. If you didn't have Swift class, you were a bad healer.
But God, it could happen where you got into an instance and you're like, "Oh God, I died," and then you see the healer start to slow rest, and everyone's like, "Swift cast." Like, sorry, don't have it.
Good time.
No, bad.
And the game never
terrible.
told you how to get Swift cast. Never told. If you didn't touch like Black Mage or Thaumaturge after 15. How would you know that the Swiftcast was at 34?
Sorry, I was just having a flashback.
Yeah.
Flashback to remember when like the Paladin AoE aggro builder was Flash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Didn't even do damage. It was a shit mitigation tool that you spammed until you couldn't mitigate anymore because they would get immune.
Good enmity though. They hated being flashed.
Remember, actually, did the roll actions even show up?
No, it was level based, so you couldn't look ahead.
So you couldn't look ahead. So you even if you leveled to 15 and checked your skills, you wouldn't know. You literally wouldn't know. Oh my god.
No guides on the lodestone back then.
What a game. What a game.
It was so good.
And this is the game people want to go back to. No. Okay, so that was the 2.x server. They asked about the Xbox version again.
Oh yeah.
So
they're not the only people that asked this time.
No. They're still in talks with Microsoft. They want it to happen, and apparently they are having a positive. Like the tone is good. They have a good dialogue. Which
been there before.
Yeah, we've heard it before, and he couldn't really give us anything specific. But they want 14 on the Xbox at some point in the future. Mm-hmm. So that's that. I don't know if I want it on the Xbox. I don't know. It's just the more consoles we're on, the harder it gets to like update things, and the more
I don't disagree, but right now they've always said the current bottleneck right now is lower end computers still.
That is true.
Get off Windows XP.
Go
to DirectX 11. Come on.
Come on, Grandma.
Yeah. Okay. There was also they also asked if they could get Soken's rendition of Lahi as an orchestrion role in game. Of course, Yoshi P laughed and essentially just said no. Well, he said no with many words. But essentially, we don't want that in the game.
No,
but you can go. He literally says at the end, you can just go on YouTube and listen to it there.
That's fair.
Yeah. So,
also, there's no like clear recording of it.
No, that's true.
No, it would be very grainy and horrible.
Well, they have live versions of other songs in game, don't they?
Yeah,
but they specifically record those, Rollo.
Oh, those are studio. You're right. They're still studio recorded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't take the footage from the live concerts that at fan fests.
Imagine if you're like a new player, you don't understand the Lahi meme. You do a dungeon and you're like, oh, Lahi Soken dropped. Oh, I can't wait to listen to that. Lahi! It's like
that's so funny.
I paid $12 a month
and you don't know it, and then it's just that.
Yeah. So no Soken. There are more questions, but this is the last question I picked, and it was Rival Wings, more. It was it evolved into more question about PvP in general because Yoshi P couldn't talk about the changes that are coming up. But they asked if they could put Rival Wings on the roulette because it was a piece that's like content that has been more or less abandoned, and Yoshi P said that it's on their radar. But it will probably not make it into 6.0, but that probably means that at some point post 6.0 we're gonna get Rival Wings on a PvP roulette or something.
Thank God.
That is coming probably. The problem with Rival Wings specifically is that most players of 14 aren't interested in PvP, which was something they noticed or realized when they introduced it. So there's a big problem with not having enough players. So queue times, and we know that queue times for Rival Wings are notoriously long. And he also brought up that the rewards aren't worth it. So that's kind of why, and I thought that's why there aren't.
Mailer.
Yeah. So that's something
true.
He wanted better rewards for PvP, so that could
just
bring
make
in
them
more
participation
people.
awards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was talking about like a currency system. Well, we already have that, which I thought he might have been. He might have referenced the actual currency system that we have, but essentially better rewards in the future also for doing it.
They just need to make good PvP content, and then I'll play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, Shatter fucking sucks. Like this is terrible.
Yeah.
I hate the Zerg Rush PvP. It's so boring.
Well, he talked also about like you get like if you get weapons, they're shit, right? So
That's true.
There really isn't. Not everything can be glamour. Like for you to want to do PvP, you want some sort of gear that helps you in some way as well, and that's part of the problem right now.
That's true.
So
should have kept it at small scale rather than doubling down on large scale, though, like 72 people. 8 versus 8 versus 8 was really fun.
Remember,
yeah,
we're getting some sort of smaller scale 8. What size did they say the new PvP coming was?
4?
I don't think they said
it was only 2 sides, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only 2 sides. Is it 4v4? That's just the feast.
No, it's more than 4v4.
Is it 6? No, wait, what was it?
It's either 8v8 or 16v16, I think. It's not... It's bigger than 4v4, I'm sure. But it's meant to be like Siege, isn't it? It's going to be a bit of a rubbish Siege if there's 4 of you.
No, wasn't the PvP meant to be smaller? It was like 6v6.
6v6?
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, odd size.
Weird. How's that going to work with rolls? Oh, well, we'll find out.
I don't remember, but it's smaller scale, I believe. Yeah. There you go. Make sure you can watch Easy Ally's full interview. There's more questions in there. They're talking about what's his name, Final Fantasy man playing 14. Yeah. Sakaguchi. There's some questions about that as well. So go check that out. That's Easy Allies. Jesse Cox, Mela.
Right. Well, this was nice. And I'll just say, I think we've said it before, but as someone who used to watch like the Polaris crew back in the day, and I've pretty much not watched Jesse Cox since then, it's lovely to see him enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Where's Dasher? Come on.
Polaris.
Dasher? You mean Dodger?
Dodger, yes, sorry.
This is one of Santa's reindeer.
I'm Dodger, I'm Dasher.
Dasher still streams. She's living a good life. She has a coffee thing and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen their stuff in a long time.
Dasher. Okay, so he started just asking how the team's feeling about the upcoming launch because they were only like 40 days away at the time of interview. He says he never really looks forward to a launch. He's very tired. He said it's been tough because of the size of the game. It's like building a whole new RPG. So he's still doing his final checks and everything. So it's tough.
It's the same feeling you get when you're like the deadline for like an essay or like an assignment you have for university is coming up. I imagine it's a similar type of pressure, but like magnitudes higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then on the plus side, he's probably not left it till last minute to do the whole thing.
I mean, I don't think he can.
So, then they asked about fan expectations because obviously Shadowbringers was so good. Does that make it more difficult? He said he's grateful for people being loyal, as it eases his pressures because he is obviously a member of the board of directors. He is incredibly confident about this expansion and the other expansions they've brought in the past. He's proud to work on the game, so he doesn't have too much of the pressure of fan expectations. Obviously, Shadowbringers' reception was very good, and he doesn't want you to think of this as a Shadowbringers 2 in any terms. It's its own game, and it'll stand on its own, like all the other expansions. He's sure it will feel different, and it's a very long journey. He says it's going to start out a little bit slow and quiet and build up, and he gave a little drop that once you hit around level 83 and go into a certain zone that you go into, then there'll be a big surprise, and that's all you have to say on that. So that's
Darkmold is the level 83 zone.
As far as you know,
there might be another 83 zone.
It might be a subsection of a different zone that we don't know about as well.
Yeah.
Who knows? So that's cool. Or it could like be an instance battle that happens there or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that's when you look back on the last 12 or so years of this project, what comes to mind?
And the main thing on it 12 years ago.
Well, since he came on as a, they said roughly 12. They couldn't remember exact timing. When he first joined the team, and he got to meet everyone, they booked out like a conference center, and there were about 200 people there. He remembers Foxclon. And he mentions because he used to work on Dragon Quest, he didn't really know a lot of these people because they are separate teams. He said there were 3 main groups of people he could see in this audience of 200 people. Upset people, tired people, and some who had a sliver of hope left after the failure of 1.0.
Yeah.
So that was quite depressing.
Yeah.
And he remembers Soken being super excited about, and hopeful for the project. And then his second big memory is when they did the first FanFest in Las Vegas. And they had apparently issues with the registration system. No one could get in, and there were big queues of people. I don't remember this. But I don't know if I was around for the first ever FanFest.
God.
But he said no one could, their tickets and stuff weren't scanning, and there was just a huge queue of people who weren't
doing that. Yes. I vaguely, that rings a bell. God.
So the PR director told him that maybe he should go out there and sort of apologize, and that might ease the tensions. But he found out that as soon as people started noticing him, they were like, "Wow, it's Yoshi P!"
Oh yeah.
They like cheered him on, and he went up and met them all. And some little kid came out and said, "You're my hero" to him. And that just warmed his middle-aged heart.
I'm sure he'd already be quite warm because they're in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's true.
And that kid was Mela Vanadar.
Yeah, that was me, everyone.
Remember when we almost had a US fan fest in a not stinky city, Rollo?
Why were they going to hold it?
San Diego.
Oh wow. That would have been...
Do it on the East Coast for once, please. I don't want to go to the West.
Yeah, why do they do it so close to JP time zone rather than more American time zone?
They have their offices on the West Coast.
Okay. Less travel for the PT crew.
Yeah.
The East Coast is much more condensed in terms of like high population centers.
Yeah.
That's true.
Do it in DC. Everyone can reach DC really easy.
In DC?
Yeah.
Washington?
Yeah, Washington, DC.
No, Mela, New York, DC.
What does DC stand for?
District of Columbia.
District of Columbia.
Okay. So then they asked...
You always make fun of Rollo for not knowing things about the
Mela baffles me.
UK, and you just showed something very ignorant about the US.
With his lack of knowledge about the US is
because I don't expect anyone to know anything about countries they don't live in. Like, I'm not going to force it down his throat.
Yeah, that's fair, Rollo. Good on you.
The capital of the United States, you would know, Mela. Mela just doesn't care. Mela's like, the United snore?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right. Go on, Mela.
So Jesse then went on to ask what the best way Yoshi P thinks is for new players to experience the story post Endwalker, because obviously it's the end of a big saga and there's going to be a whole new story plot. So here he brings up his TV drama series analogy.
Oh, God.
He says that obviously Realm Reborn is season 1 and Endwalker is season 5. But 7.0 will be like a new first season of like the new story arc. So this is season 1 of, in anime they have like season 1, 2, 3 of an arc, and then they move on to a new arc.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking more like Degrassi: The Next Generation.
Or that reference that I don't get.
Cool reference.
He says the big moments in Shadowbringers were a lot better if you were someone who either has been around since the beginning or you've played A Realm Reborn and you didn't skip to the end. So it's definitely better for people to go through the whole story, and that's what he would prefer. But if they don't want to, there will be story skips that you can pay for, and he does appreciate the fact that it will only become harder and harder for people to catch up. So it's something he knows he's going to have to deal with sooner or later. He then goes on to talk about if there are any benefits for you as a player to play through the entire storyline, sort of A Realm Reborn to Endwalker, for things beyond that, and if there are any plot threads that will move on into 7.0 and beyond. He also mentions as an example, like, Tataru's been there from the beginning in this story arc? Is she going to be a character in the future, or do we not need to care about who this person is? And he says that it's not like after this saga ends, they're going to just chuck you off to a new planet. There will be some continuity. And he says once the Endwalker's over, it sort of will leave hope for the future. And he said it's not like you'll say goodbye to everyone you've met.
Okay.
But maybe someone, who knows? But he doesn't,
Well, someone's gonna die or disappear or fade away or turn into...
There'll be deaths.
Steam.
There can't not be.
Someone will do a Gasetsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, that's right. Because he's priming
what's he
us.
doing now?
He's priming us. We're like, someone's gonna die, and they're like, oh my god, the entire palace is falling over me. I'm gonna get splatted. Splatted, you think, but actually, at the end of the whole story, we pan over like the ruins, and it turns out there was a hole. He fell into a manhole, and it crawls up. And it's like, oh, phew, I live. Also, hello, Xenos. You fell in with me. How are you?
And he's like,
I don't know who I am. And that's a whole new
little
arc.
babe.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Should have died.
I'd be okay if we never had to see Hancock ever again. I hate talking to Hancock in game. Like, this is such an unpleasant man.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be a nice person, Rollo.
I know, but I could... we haven't talked to him in Shadowbringers, and that was great. Keep him in there.
Well,
let Kugane Castle fall.
I'll have you know, the entire Garlemald Tower is going to fall on Hancock, and only Hancock.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
But
It's going to fall across the ocean.
Yeah. But Rollo, he falls into a manhole and survives.
No!
And he emerges in the Garlean embassy.
Yeah. So there you
Gets
go.
captured and becomes a prisoner of war.
Yeah.
He also then goes on saying, Tataru's the front and center for the Endwalker key art. So that's, don't worry, she's there. Maybe she's the final boss. And then he says, we've yet to fight the most deadly encounter ever, and it's going to be very epic.
Whoa.
Don't worry, it's going to be epic, guys.
I do think it's very funny that Tataru is like front and center in the Endwalker key art.
Yeah.
She's going to get grape squash like that guy in the Baelsar storyline thing. In the word story.
She just isn't marketable. Sorry, she can't go on the
Why
poster.
is Kryl marketable?
Because she's too close to Pikachu. I think it's the wrong game.
Kryl is very unfairly treated in the marketing of this game.
Yeah,
I love Kryl. She's one of my favorite.
The reason
characters.
she's not on the artwork is because the tower is going to fall on her.
No, what's with the tower?
But here's the twist, Rollo. She falls into a manhole. And at the end of the story,
with Hancock and
she
Xenos?
crawls up and she's like, "Oh, I'm here. Hello, Hancock. Hello, Xenos. We don't know who we are."
But she knew their names.
That's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that bit.
Yeah.
And they all have a curry-related accident or something.
No,
they get to lie next to their nan, so that's fine.
They then talk about the comment Yoshi P made about how it will be easier to level side jobs outside of your main job. He's mentioned that a few times. And he said, the armory system is something that sets this game apart. They don't want you to have an obligation to level all jobs, which is weird based on the Amaro mount, but fine. Just get through the MSQ and save the world, okay?
Right.
That's all he wants. Well, that's the only thing he wants.
Well, they don't consider mounts to be that special, because considering that was one of the things they were saying that didn't convince people to do PvP.
That's true. He says, on average, players have 3 to 4 max level jobs, which was interesting to the team. So they've changed it. So doing the MSQ quests alone will grant you enough XP to cap. And so side quests can now be used for alt job leveling, which is essentially what it is now, but maybe you'll need to do a couple of side quests.
I never had to do side quests to level. I was never level locked during Shadow.
Really?
I think I might have once, maybe, but not much. Or maybe the dungeon gave enough XP anyway.
I feel like I had a decent amount of Roblox in Shadowbringers.
You had a decent amount of roadblocks. I thought you said
Roblox.
Roblox.
Yeah, it was a side game at the time.
Yeah. Raw was playing Roblox on
yeah.
the side.
Well, I did get roadblocks during Shadowbringers, but that was because I was leveling both Scholar and Red Mage simultaneously. Once I started just focusing on Scholar to get to the end of the game, I didn't have that issue anymore.
Okay.
Well, either way, it's supposed to be easier, but he didn't talk about anything that I wanted him to talk about, like, just faster XP gains for armory bonus or whatever. He didn't say anything like that.
No.
So it might not be that good a buff, to be honest.
It'll be nice to make things level quickly though, because it's like you gotta admit, I like leveling the different jobs. I'm actually almost done doing all of them. I just need to do Samurai, and then I'll be done.
Wow, then you left that till the end.
Well, because I already had Samurai leveled on my alt.
Right.
Because I was like,
oh, okay.
I didn't want to. I saved the ones that I've already done for last.
Makes sense.
But God, it's a lot of time.
It's so boring leveling.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, it is.
You gotta do bad leveling roulettes where you get stuck in fucking Tam Tara or some shit, and you're doing main scenario. Great XP, great time to catch up on your favorite TV show. You're gonna see a lot though if you want to level.
Yeah.
He then asked about the surge of players and how the dev team has reacted to it. He says, of course, it's amazing to have a big boom of players and the team's so happy. He also said that he's sure that there are people in the company who are happy that they'll receive a bonus because of this, which is funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, brilliant, I'm going to get more money.
Royalties.
Yeah.
See, that's an insight into like Japanese work culture, where every year everyone gets bonuses at the end of the year based on the performance of the company, rather than necessarily like yearly salary raises.
Yeah.
Well, you get bonuses in other like Christmas bonuses, and there's
depends on the line of work, I suppose.
I have never gotten a Christmas bonus in my life.
It's like this mythical thing that you hear about but never experience.
What occupations do you have to work in to get a Christmas bonus or something similar?
Some kind of weird
Retail?
office? No.
Not retail.
No.
Some hairdo, I think.
I think it depends. It differs from country to country, I guess.
Yeah.
I've gotten performance bonuses at work.
Well,
The vet makes enough money every year.
Yeah, bless you.
Yeah.
That's
boy.
it.
Yeah.
They like watching people do world first races. The dev team keeps eye on those, and we do too. We enjoy those, and they've enjoyed watching some new people too to see their reactions. So that's fairly mundane. They asked if Yoshi P is a primal.
Yes.
And apparently even the Japanese say this too, that he is, everyone is tempered and he is a big primal. I don't know why, but he says that he sees everyone as a friend, colleague, or family member. He's not a primal. He's just a middle-aged gamer who loves online games and gaming.
Sorry, are they talking real life? Oh, I thought they were like trying to ask a lore question about like the minstrel.
No.
Oh, okay.
Just in real life.
They were asking if the Wandering Minstrel is a primal.
That makes more sense than real life. I love how you brought up as if I'm being silly for thinking it was in-game where primals are real than real life.
This is a meme that is like relatively widespread.
It does make more sense in game though.
I like that he gives himself the title of middle-aged. Like, he's always like, I'm just a middle-aged gamer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
He is though, bless him.
Yeah.
He is.
By the time
Good lad.
10 more years have happened, we'll be middle-aged.
I know.
Oh,
That'll be
God.
fucked up. I'll be
Hopefully we won't be doing this anymore.
black and white moment.
Black and white moment.
No.
You're not going to be like that in 10 years, I hope, Mela.
No, you're not, Mela. As
It's
much
gonna
as
be
you want to be
a
an old
swift
person,
downhill curve for me.
you just want to be an old person that can say what you want without
Oh,
consequences.
I really want to be an old person.
Yeah.
I hope 10 years from now I get some like nice salt and pepper in the beard. Think that'd be cool.
Can't wait to take a pipe and just scream at people for getting in my way or whatever.
Can't wait to take a pipe.
I want to start. If I get it to like 70, I want to be like a wizard and have a pipe.
That's funny.
That's
yeah.
That's the dream
I
for me.
respect that. That would be funny.
Don't worry, I'll be dyeing my hair by then, like my mother. And then if I ever stop dyeing, I'll be shock white.
Oh my god, that's gonna be a real.
Oh my god, that's the dream. I want to be
You can
shock
anime.
white.
You can get like a Cruella streak if you like, Georgie.
Yeah.
That's
Dignified.
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna dye my hair gold like a Gato or whatever.
That's too far. It's too far. You can't have golden hair.
Some people get like golden tips on the end. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very 90s.
Frosted. Then the final question was whether they can have Lalafell sit on other players like Nanamo and Raubon has. He then asked, does this even mean that you'd want a Lalafell sitting on another Lalafell's shoulders? To which they said yes. Then there was a weird thing about, could you even stomach the idea of another person being allowed to have Nanamo on them? And there's no room on a Lalafell for another Lalafell. Maybe they could be worn like a backpack instead. The demand seems to be there, he says, so they might have to look into it. It's a bit of a weird ending, but
weird.
You know what? I would like it if one of my Lalafell and party members could right-click on me and then click on mount, and then they'll just be on my shoulder. You know, like that's.
I wish you could
fine.
do that for just all races.
a Rogadin on a Lalafell.
So like a Rogadin sitting on a Lalafell. That is funny. A hero just walking up to another hero and just sit on their shoulder.
Just backpacking them, just like.
And then still being able to do emotes. I'd just be constantly like clapping. Mela logs in. I'm immediately on his shoulder just clapping.
What if we could like stack it as well?
Yeah, so Georgi can sit on my shoulder and then Rolo sits on Georgi's shoulder.
It would work similarly to fashion items because it's like mounting, but it's not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have like a fake Nanamo fashion item, and that would probably tick the boxes for them.
Yeah.
It's a bit creepy.
Yeah. It is creepy, but they asked a pretty creepy question.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's that.
All right. That's that.
Not as much as not as much new information, but it was good. It was nice.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jesse and JP.
Yeah, that is Jesse Cox. Make sure you check that out. All right, and well, it's technically last, but I guess honorable mention after that. But Mizzteq, Georgi.
Okay, so she opened up the interview by asking Yoshi P, I hope that he's hopefully getting plenty of sleep, taking care of himself during this stressful time, and he wanted to reassure all of us that he is getting no sleep.
Good.
Her first question was about Ultimate, how many there's likely to be, when it will happen. Yoshi P says it's still Dragon Song Ultimate is still currently on schedule for 6.1. Hopefully nothing will prevent that from happening. As for if there will be another Ultimate in Endwalker, while they do have plans, they don't want to speak any more on it right now because they don't want to have another scenario happen to them like as has happened with Dragon Song Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're gonna do an Ultimate. We should pick one and do it one day.
We would need to clear the tier, the Savage tier required to play them.
Yeah.
Do it for the old one. What was the Shadow Stormblood one? The first one. Ultimate Bahamut Ukab.
Yeah.
Ukab.
It was
Uka.
Yeah,
it was Coil.
Ukab.
Yeah, Ukab.
Yeah. Ukab.
Unending.
We can do Ukab.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
And she goes on to like her next two questions are about healers, and then the second one is specifically about scholars. She asks like how does the team seek to balance the player's desire to both DPS and heal as healers, and he says that like the design sentiment from 5.x onwards has been to increase the damage output such that healers will be healing more. Even so, they don't want the skill floor to be so high that lower skilled players will look at all these DPS skills and feel like, oh, why am I not using these? Why am I focusing all my time on healing? Which is why healers, as they are right now, are designed to not have many DPS buttons. Also, when it comes to people out-leveling old content, it's always going to be the case that, like, as eye level increases, you're just going to have more time to DPS anyway. So they try not to think about that too much in regards to moving between expansions.
Right. Okay.
That's fair.
And also, he once again reminds us, if you want to attack as a healer, there's always Sage.
Good choice, Sages.
They really want to sell us Sage as like the best healer. I mean, it's gonna be the best healer at launch. That's how they do these things. But weird. Why do we not?
So, like,
why do we not have enough DPS skills, Yoshi P? Play Sage.
Yeah, it's also strange that like there's so much. Maybe it's because of all the questions about healers and scholars specifically that they've been pushing Sage so much. I feel like there has not been as much push for people to play Reaper.
No,
that's
there
true.
hasn't.
True.
But apparently Reaper's taking a lot of people by surprise by how good it is.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
interested in it. I'm more interested in Sage, but there's some things to it.
There is. I think there is always this. They don't. They've also said this outright that people don't want to play healers. Right, so I think they're a little insecure on about that job. So they're like, please play Sage. And remember, none of the other healers can DPS. Look at how many DPS skills Sage has. Play Sage.
Well, see, here's the thing. I feel like they're going about it the wrong way. They worry that people aren't playing healers because they're worried about healing.
Mm-hmm.
So they just jam them full of healing skills, and then people are like, well, that's not what we wanted.
Yeah, I know.
So, this is the problem that 14 has always had, I feel like. Because let's say we're doing a Savage, right? We do the Savage, we get better gear, okay?
Yeah.
So when that happens with tanks, they take less damage, they do more damage, right?
Yeah.
DPS, they do more damage, right? And then healers heal more, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, they also do more damage, but they don't have any damage skills really. So it's like content's being cleared faster.
Yeah,
and you have all these extra heals and stronger heals that don't do as much because everyone's already taking less damage and doing more damage too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make
true.
sense.
Yeah, that was an aspect of Mizzteq's question, and unfortunately, Yoshi, as I said, like they never plan for what happens after eye levels start increasing and such. Like,
right,
there's going to be more downtime for healers to just be DPSing because tanks are taking less damage, bosses are dying faster.
Yeah.
There's less to heal.
Yeah,
I think they should reconsider that one, maybe.
Yeah.
In my humble onion.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think that there needs to be. It doesn't have to be as equally complicated, but it needs to be more than 2 buttons.
Yeah, like you could give him 2 more attack spells. Maybe give him a single OGCD too. Like,
yeah,
there's got to be more than just a spell, a dot, AOE, and whatever. I don't know, some stuff.
What was your opinion of like the white mage rotation in Heavenswood Liqueur?
Oh, well, we had Arrow 3. We had Arrow... Oh my god, we had a lot more of them. Because you could use Stone 1, Stone 2. You never did that. Obviously, you used the highest tier one. But, yeah, I felt like I did more. There was also, like, it felt more like a rotation. It isn't really a rotation now for DPS. You have...
No.
There's Glare, and then... No, sorry, there's Dia, and then Glare. A size, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A Flater's Misery every 90 seconds.
And then every 90 seconds, a Flater's Misery, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the...
Yeah.
Because, and chat's bringing up, you also had Arrow 2 and Arrow 1. They were separate skills back then.
Yeah, yeah.
You're pressing more buttons.
Yes. I mean, it had other downsides, like Cleric Stance still being like a thing that you had to pop, but...
Oh, that was good.
I miss Cleric Stance. I think that was a cool concept. I think being stuck in Cleric Stance and fucking up was bad, but I think being able to do more damage.
I think Cleric Stance is an interesting idea, and they're kind of getting that with like fucking Sage's Dark Arts button that they're getting.
Yeah.
But like, unfortunately, it's not designed well enough for a game that has ping like 14 does.
Right.
Yeah, that's being stuck in the stance and having someone die always sucks. But
every
they
time
could have made it work.
You're like, oh, I'm just gonna do a little quick DPS, but then it has like Cleric Stance had like I don't remember the recast time, but it was like 10
Like
seconds or 5 seconds, whatever it was too much. For the moment you had clicked that and you saw your tank just suddenly drop to like 10% health, you knew it was over. Unless you had Benediction ready.
See, that's why I was nostalgic for a Realm Reborn Lustrate, where it was a flat 25%. It doesn't matter if you Cleric Stance or not. Similar to Benediction, it's always a flat amount of damage, but unlike White Mages, we had 3 uses of it.
Yeah. Okay.
The I don't know if there's much point in going into what he says about why scholars are feeling neglected. He says the same thing he said before.
Yeah.
He says we don't like going into detail about all the minutiae about every job prior to launch, but then he also fails to understand why scholars aren't happy with how it is right now. But they have also said, which I don't know if is the correct takeaway from this question, that moving forward they might try and go into different details about each job in the live letters prior to expansions, where they go through each step of the new jobs.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna help.
No, I don't think that's gonna. I don't think I would have been happy if they explained my 2 new skills beforehand.
I just would have been upset that we sat there having to listen to scholar skills that didn't change.
Yeah.
And her last question was that is there any plans to add a delay to the Savage tier releases that happen after normal raids, similar to how there are at launch? How, when normal raid releases at launch, there's normally like a week or 2 before Savage releases. Mizzteq wants to know if they're making similar plans for 0.2 and 0.4 patches.
Interesting idea.
So Yoshi said they're considering it. Nothing concrete, but they will provide further information when that time comes.
Okay.
The funny thing about that question too is that the way they translated it was like I think
really
it was
confusing. Yeah,
she's like used the word for floor and not like tier as in we would. So he was thinking like, oh, like getting Armor the Father and then whatever the Father a week later. Like what?
Like you want a week delay between each like turn of coil.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the main questions.
All right, there you go. That's Mizzteq. Make sure you check that out as well. Mizzteq, MTQ capture on YouTube. Okay. I mean, we can mention Drak, Rollo.
So
you don't have to tell.
None of us.
Just
None of us are monk players.
No.
That's Drak's thing. His main questions were regarding stuff like Brotherhood overflow, like the things, the chakra things. You just get too many and you miss them. And he's like, we'll consider that. And then same thing with what was that other skill? I don't know. It's all monks. Something about
6-pointed star?
Yeah, 6-sided star or something. Sorry, I'm not a detailed monk player.
Let's just say, go watch Drak's video on that. If you're a monk or interested in stuff about monk, it's there. Go watch that instead. Okay.
There is one other interview, but we won't be talking about it today.
No.
Because it's not really relevant to Endwalker.
Oh, true.
But we'll get to it at some point.
Yes, right. All right, that's all we wrote for today. Next week, that's episode 270. We'll be back with a normal episode. Sorry, I just said 270. That also means post-show and questions from the syndicate. So patrons, make sure you're sending questions. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back, like I said, next week, same time, same place. No. Can't say that now. Saturday, 9 p.m. Central European Time, 8 p.m. BST. You know the times. I don't have to tell you. Remember to follow on Twitter at SpeakersXIV, twitch.tv/SpeakersOfIreland, youtube.com/SpeakersXIV, !Discord in chat if you want to join our Discord server. If you're watching on demand, links in the description. That's the show. No post-show. So we'll see you... Well, we'll still see you probably tomorrow. So goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.